I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music. Today we're going to review Arctic Monkeys' Suck It and See. Comma, bitch. Now, that's not really what this album title is alluding to. Tom, what is the album title actually alluding to?
It's actually British slang for, like, give it a try something out. So,
which, since these guys are British, it makes sense.
Once I found that out, I was like, okay, that's not as terrible an album title as I thought it was.
Yeah, because otherwise it was up there with, like, Leftovertures and and other album titles that Tom has a bad album title list. You have that on our website?
Yes, I do.
Go check that out at
It was fun to compile.
www.velocitiesandmusic.com.
Anyways,
this album is Arctic Monkeys' 4th release. They are a band that got super popular over the internet, and that's how they gained a lot of their popularity, a lot of buzz. I know AllMusic loves these guys. And a lot of music critics and fans alike love the Arctic Monkeys, and I'm sorry, Arctic Monkeys. And I know that that's good. I mean, I think music is what you think of it, and it's not what people like Tom and I think of it. And that's what you guys have to take home when any time that we give out a bad review. Foreshadowing. This album did not really please Tom and I, but if it pleases you, then who cares what two guys behind a desk say and put up our videos on YouTube? I mean, go listen to it for yourself, and if you like it, love it, great. Tell us why, and you know, and we'd love for you, those of you who are capable of making really mature comments and want to start a conversation. We will engage in that conversation with you, because Arctic Monkeys is a band that personally, Tom, I've listened to a few of their albums, especially their first album, which got super huge.
Yeah.
But I never got into them. I never really found what everybody's, they have this really just iconic status. I don't understand it, because the ideas in the music that the ideas in their music that they bring to the table has really been around since the mid to early 90s. Yeah. And in Britain. So I don't really understand what they brought that got them so popular. And maybe that's my own misguided, sense of purpose.
It's really not. This is a band that people have been very split on. You've got people saying that their first album was one of the best British albums to come out in like the last 20 years. And then you've got people saying, are you serious? Because this is just the same brit-rock that Blur and Oasis and tons of other people were doing in the 90s.
Right.
Manic
Street Preachers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Big kind of chasm between the schools of thought here. And what's interesting is I actually like their old stuff pretty well, and it sounds like you didn't so much, but then you like this album better than I liked it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll come out and say I was not a fan of this album, to tell you the truth. From the get-go, first listen, I was just kind of annoyed. One thing that I've always liked about this band is their energy, their rambunctious, youthful energy, and there's just not a lot of it here. On select tracks there are, but it seems just too laid back and just kind of like they don't really care enough to just really punch it, just really hit it home. And beyond that, I mean, I just thought the songwriting was kind of bland. It was terrible in spots, good in spots, and then just kind of bland overall. Also, the lyrics, and you rarely hear me talk about lyrics on this show. Yeah, usually I don't care, but there were lines that jumped out at me that were just so bad that it really took away from the experience for me. Like, track 3, Brick by Brick, has some of the most throwaway lyrics I've ever heard. I want to rock and roll brick by brick. He says that like 4 times in a row. Like, was he just pressed for time or something? I just feel like that's a throwaway. You got my personal favorite, Home Sweet Home, Home Sweet Booby track. And, I mean, I hear that, and the thing is, when that comes up, I go, huh? And then it distracts me from whatever decent thing the instrumentals are actually doing.
And I've actually been told before that I read too much into Arctic Monkeys lyrics, that that you have to take them for face value. They're supposed to be kind of light and blasé and trivial and but the thing is that if they're meant to be funny, then why am I not laughing? I mean, I'm not I have a pretty good sense of humor. I mean, those of you who watch know that I laugh a lot on this show, maybe too much. This doesn't make me laugh ever. I just think that it's kind of bland.
And the thing is, it worked a little bit more with the style they had in their earlier work, because it was that, like I said, that kind of teenage, just kind of, hormone-driven rock. And so it kind of worked. It was kind of charming and cute. Now they sound more adult. They sound more laid back, and they're still spitting out the same kind of immature lines, and it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, Tom, and you alluded to a lot of what my main criticism is, just in the fact that, you talked about songwriting being really good at spots and really bad at spots, and the lyrics and the lack of energy, and what I think that translated into for me is that certain tracks on this album are just clearly better than others. Any time that reaches a severe point when on a full album listen for me, I get horribly pissed off, because I think in an album listen, which is what Tom and I, that is something that we are very staunch in our opinions about, is that we think that you should be able to put an album on from the moment it starts to the moment it ends and never skip a track. And if you can't do that, something's wrong on the album. And for the most part, that's what we kind of adhere our grading scale to. That is one of the #1 things that Velocities in Music looks at. And on this album, there are several tracks here that I think are just crap. But several ones that I think are fascinating, like track 2, Black Treacle, and track 9, Pile Driver Waltz, and track 10, Love is a Laser Quest, I think are fantastic. So that displacement to where I really like some of the tracks and really dislike some of the tracks means I'm skipping around to the ones that I like. That's not an album listen, so how can I grade the album based on only the tracks that I like? I'm not going to cherry pick. I mean, that's just not right. So I think that's kind of due to this compilation feel that Arctic Monkeys presented. I mean, these songs aren't really related. It's just 12 Arctic Monkeys tracks that they kind of just tossed together. And there's really nothing wrong with that. A lot of artists have done that. And it works really well. The compilation feel works great. Say, Radiohead's The Bends. It works great when all the songs are good. When you have some good songs and some great songs and some really bad songs, the compilation feel just goes out the window. Just makes it seem like you're being lazy. It does. Especially in 2011. And I think that I agree with you. I'm going to take it one step further where you say there just seems to be kind of this lack of intensity here. And you can definitely tell that Arctic Monkeys slowed their sound a little bit. It's trying to sound more mature. But what I also noticed is that the vocals are just not doing it for me. The vocals are kind of just the same intensity level throughout there's one song, actually Brick by Brick is one where the vocals tried to get a little bit more intense. There's a couple other moments, but other than that, I feel like the vocals are very just flat. Not in pitch, but just in intensity. And I feel like that kind of hurt the album over and all, and ruined the authenticity. It made the music less believable for me. So overall, there's a lot of things to gripe about on this one. However, I gotta say, some of the instrumentation is really fantastic, even on the weaker tracks where maybe the songwriting wasn't as good, but on the tracks where the songwriting was good and the instrumentation was pretty fantastic, I have no complaints. So some of the better tracks I've heard in 2011, so that kind of made up for it in the score a little bit. So kudos to them. They can still write good songs. I'm feeling like a 68. I feel like there's some really good things going on here, but just some really serious issues that the Arctic Monkeys really need to work out before this moves into a good score in the 70s or even a great score in the 80s for me.
I'm going to go 58. I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, I know. You were complaining about it the whole time.
I was.
It's alright. That happens sometimes. Really, like I said earlier, it's all about what you guys think. It's not about what... I mean, music is a personal experience, and then we just talk about it because this is how we get experience to learn what our tastes are. It's a kind of a voyage into the self. Sort of thing. What did you guys think about Suck It and See? Leave us a comment at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. That's where we talk to you guys. Do it. And also follow our gentlemanly friend Ian Barker's blog at vimtv.tumblr.com. I am Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
Like you've been for breakfast at the Heartbreak Hotel, and sat in the back booth by the pamphlets and the